Welcome to another COVID-19 episode. Here I am. I'm going to be drinking some tea, but I'm also going to be talking a little bit about just sort of special occasion tea, or tea that we maybe drink a little bit less often. And I think a lot of people, especially people that have been drinking a while and have been able to settle into a rhythm, have teas that sort of fit into this category. And I, looking over what I own and what I do, I definitely do as well. And so, for me at least, they are teas that tend to be, a little bit more expensive than teas that I drink on a more regular basis. So, for instance, I drink tea on a regular basis that's, anywhere from 10 cents a gram to 25, 30, 35 cents a gram. So, for me, the tea that I am bringing on to this episode is 75, 80 cents a gram. So, for me, that's sort of in this little bit of an awkward range where I just don't drink it that often. And part of the reason is probably because of the price, too. I just can't sort of psychologically wrap my head around to drink this more often than I do, but you still want to drink it. So for me, the teas tend to fit in sort of special occasions. So a lot of different contexts that you could drink it. You could drink it with a friend who you haven't seen in a while, a birthday. But for me, these tend to be sort of like planned dates in advance. And advance could just be a day or two, or it could be a week, knowing that you have some time to actually just sit down, appreciate the tea, and really enjoy it. So a tea like this for me, and I'm drinking the 2004 Biyun Hao Manzhuan, a tea that I picked up for about 75 to 80 cents a gram. And it's a tea, I just don't drink it that often. So going to be drinking on this show and also giving it a rating. But yeah, please comment below. Let me know what is your special occasion drink. For me, I really like Iwu teas. They are regular drinks for me. But Iwu / Six Famous Mountain teas, such as this one, that are a little bit more expensive, just tend not to find their ways into my pot or my gaiwan very often. So for me, this is a Iwu tea that's a little bit of a cut above the Iwu teas that I drink more often. And, pu'er may not actually be particularly well suited to this sort of format just because of the quantity. And I do own a cake of this tea, and it's a 500-gram massive cake. But in many ways, it's nicer to pick up smaller quantities of more expensive teas so you can just enjoy them in little doses at a time. So in that sense, pu'er maybe isn't totally ideal, but I like pu'er and I like Iwu tea, and this tea for me fits a few of the other criteria that I really enjoy for a special occasion tea. So let me know when you drink it, what the sort of context is. Another reason that the context for me is also important is one reason that you could drink a really special tea is something like an anniversary, for instance, for me with my wife. But my wife is not terribly into raw pu'er that can get a little bit bitter. And this tea I don't think quite fits the criteria that we could both sort of enjoy together. So when we will sit down and enjoy a good quality tea session together, it will probably be more like something like an aged oolong, which we can both enjoy more. So I think finding the right context. So for me, even a special occasion with this tea is literally a solo session by myself. So it doesn't need to be super special so much as it is like I'm planning to really sit down, to really appreciate, to really enjoy this tea, and I'm planning ahead a bit. So don't want this tea to get too cold, so gonna dig in right now. So steep number 2 here, and I can instantly see why my wife would not like this tea. It's a little bit bitter, a little bit sour, has a really strong full core to it. I'd say it's definitely on the softer end of tea, maybe to be expected considering it's a Six Famous Mountain tea. But this is not a super subtle Iwu. I think the taste of this is pretty upfront overall. Sort of a woody, grainy softness to this, I would say. So it starts out, the first steep I had was a little bit less bitter, a little bit less sour to it, kind of to be expected for pu'er, but the eventual aftertaste and the depth of the tea is quite good. You can feel it in the throat, sort of that aftertaste that lingers is definitely more on the sweet end. So I'm no longer tasting like extreme sourness or anything like that in my mouth. Yeah. So gonna heat this up for another steep. So I apologize for the noise that this thing sometimes generates. Woody, sweet, fairly straightforward nose to this. Cheers. So a little bit less sour. Still definitely kind of got that bitterness. And just continues to have like a nice density of, I think I want to describe it as a little mineraliness. Yeah, definitely still a little sour. A little bit of fruits too, picking up on that. These are not sort of like riper tropical fruits. A little bit of a darker taste to it than that. And I should clarify, this tea was stored in Taiwan for 14 or 15 years until I picked it up last year. So this now being 16 years old. It's made by Biyun Hao, who is a boutique Taiwanese producer, continues to make a lot of pretty darn good Iwu teas. Teas we like, sells a lot of other teas. I don't believe they sell this particular one. But they've been making Iwu teas for years, Iwu, Six Famous Mountain teas, and I do generally like them as a vendor. I don't own, I believe this is the only production of theirs that I do actually own, but they're good examples of Iwu tea that I do think could sort of fit into that category of a special occasion tea if Iwu is your jam like it is for me. Starting to really get heated up from some of this. Drinking this on a May day, but it's kind of a rainy day, so sort of suitable for that atmosphere. Gonna be doing steep number 4 here. So I did one steep off camera. Go. Feel like this tea also has a little bit of that powdery texture to it, so it's enjoyable as well, and that sort of like textural variance as well. Aroma changes a little bit. Always when it's a little hotter, it brings out a little bit more intensity to that. More of the graininess, actually. Interesting to this tea. And you know, honestly, I don't know this tea super well. When I had it, I had a sample a few years ago, and I really did enjoy it. And when I ended up buying this tea, I've had it a couple times. But I mean, kind of the point of some of these special occasion teas is you don't have them all that often. So this is only, I've only had it a handful of times since getting it. So I'm still sort of figuring out the tea on the fly here. But I am really enjoying this. The aftertaste and the depth and the energy of it, to me, are sort of these good markers of good quality tea. And for me, this hits all those check marks on it. It has a good maturation level too. I mean, I think you can tell from my description that it's clearly raw pour and maintains some of that core strength that many of us like from raw pour, but it's also mellowed out. The storage, I'd say, is pretty clean overall. You may have seen in the initial picture that it is a pretty bug-bitten tea, so bugs really like this tea too. And I think the bugs in this case have quite good taste. Cheers. So sort of putting it all together, powdery, minerally, a little woody, a little grainy, quite complex in the taste. There's a certain quality that some of these Taiwanese teas have, and it maybe have to do with the storage of it, but it does remind me a little bit of some Wistaria teas too, the Wistaria, Zipin, Iwu, just a little bit, and I'm not sure why that is. It may be because I've just had these teas both fairly recently, but really enjoying it. Yeah, there's a certain aromaticness to it that you get. Anyways, gonna give this tea a 7.9 rating, which is, I think, one of the highest ratings I've given to a tea on the show. So really, really enjoying this tea. Gonna be brewing it all day, of course. Probably get 15, 16 steeps out of it. And yeah, let me know how you enjoyed this episode. Let me know what the special occasion teas that you drink and under what context that you drink it are. And I will see you all soon. Cheers.